What's up, guys? I put together a machine dedicated to emulation recently using a Raspberry Pi and RetroPie, and so I've been looking for the perfect retro controller to play different retro games with. I've tried a fair few by this point and felt the need to review a couple of more common Super Nintendo style controllers that I've encountered. First up is the iNNEXT Retro Classic. The first thing I'll say about these is that at 2 for £10 or around $15, you might think they can't possibly be any good, right? Well, I mean, yeah, you'd be right. They aren't. However, they're not quite as bad as you might think, depending on what you're going to be using them for. While they look the part from a distance, they definitely don't pass muster up close. The cheap plastic, tacky logo give it away instantly, along with the plastic being a very different color from a real Super Nintendo controller. The buttons on the US version look okay, but the European version the colors are dull and the plastic's matte instead of glossy. The start and select buttons are weirdly tall as well. The face buttons themselves feel okay and function just fine, however the shoulder buttons are horrific. They're really squishy, and the buttons don't seem to actually fit, so the plastic scrapes against the case a little bit. But we have to spend the most time talking about the D-pad, because to be frank, it's a piece of shit and has a host of problems with both the design and build quality. The plastic underneath the D-pad is a flat piece with a small circular pillar in the middle that presses against the printed circuit board. It's also slightly too tall, and the rubber button pads are kind of thin. Ultimately, this means it's incredibly difficult to press a single direction without accidentally getting a diagonal input, which can render some games with sensitive or precise controls almost unplayable. To demonstrate this, I played some Contra. You can see here that I'm having a really difficult time aiming straight up, often running to the left or right instead and ending up shooting diagonally and missing things, and difficulty jumping down from platforms or ducking. Often this results in you simply running into whatever it was you were trying to duck, or running off the platform and into something that's going to kill you. For comparison, here's some footage of me playing on the 8-bit controller and having absolutely no problems whatsoever. While this is really frustrating, I did play a bunch of other games expecting to come back and say that this controller was completely unusable. But I found that just wasn't the case, because most other games don't have such sensitive controls. R-Type 3 felt fine, Super Mario World felt pretty good. In fact, a friend of mine played through the entire game with it on one of these controllers and had very few problems. Even Ninja Gaiden for NES was playable. It's a very twitchy game, but getting an occasional diagonal input isn't as disastrous here as it is in Contra. It's also not bad at all for slower games, like tactical RPGs. I used it to play Front Mission on my stream, for example, for weeks and had no problems at all. That was until the buttons started to become unresponsive, after less than a month of moderate usage. Ultimately, I'd say that while I can't really recommend these, if you only intend to use them for RPGs or games that don't require split-second input such as Contra or Street Fighter, they aren't actually that bad, considering they cost £5 each. I'd also consider keeping a couple of them around for the occasional player too. For £10 a pair, even as crappy as they are, it's hard to be too pissed off at them, really.